Empowered STEM is an A-level course provider, and we provide A-level courses in chemistry, biology, physics, and maths for those students that want to enroll in medical, dental, veterinary, financial, and engineering programs at the chosen university in the UK. So today, I wanted to come in and I wanted to answer the question that I'm asked all the time, and it's this one. Should my teen study over the summertime? This is one of the top questions that we're asked. And the answer is yes, your teen should study over the summertime. So what I'm going to do in this live stream is I'm going to show you tips and strategies that will allow your teen to stay sharp, avoid burnout, and start the school year in September with confidence. This is a problem that we have. Imagine that you have a curve, like a continuum. All right. From the teen's perspective, well, either they can do nothing. Oh, great. Summer holidays, summer vacations here, brilliant. I'm going to do nothing. I'm going to sleep in late, hang out with my friends. I'm going to binge Netflix, do everything that I wanted to do during the school year, but I didn't have time to do it. And fair enough, understandable. Problem with this one then is if your teen does nothing over the summertime in terms of study, they begin to lose momentum. They begin to forget what they've learned. This is why the teachers, the very first month or two when they go back in September, is just review of what they taught last year, in year 12, for example. Why? Because they know that the students have forgotten it. Or on the other hand, the other side of the curve, your teen can study too much. They can overdo it. Oh, studying into the night, all day Saturday, all day Sunday. And the problem with that is that they reach September and they're totally exhausted. They're physically burnt out. They're mentally burnt out. They're fed up of studying and they got to go back into year 12 or year 13. Now, from the parent's perspective, imagine a slider again. On the one hand, you're thinking, well, yes, I'm pushing them too hard, Graham. I'm demanding that they're studying upstairs in their room for hours and hours on the weekend and, end of the night, because it's what they should be doing. They're taking the A levels. Or, on the other hand, I've kind of let them figure out on their own what they've got to be doing. They are, after all, taking A levels. And so I'm not providing enough structure. And so the parents have this concern that they're either overdoing it or not doing it enough, encouraging the teen to study. And the teen is thinking, well, yeah, I don't want to study. I want to break, or I'm overstudying. But what we found is this, parents, is that the key, it isn't about how many hours your teen studies. It's about finding the right balance. There's a balance between not doing enough study and overstudying. Now, there's a science to this balance. At Empowered STEM, by the way, that we use the 6 pillars of neuroscience all the time. And the science behind this one comes from a German psychologist, Ebbinghaus. And he came up with the Ebbinghaus forgetting curve. And you're probably thinking, Graham, what on earth is the Ebbinghaus forgetting curve? It's simple. You forget the information that you've learned unless you take proactive steps to lock the information into your memory, move it from your short-term memory to your long-term memory. And what he found out is that the first 24 hours after you've learned some new information, this is the time when you forget the most information. And then after the first 24 hours, you begin to forget less and less information. So by the end of week 1, you haven't forgotten as much information as you did in the first 24 hours. On the end of week 2, you haven't forgotten as much information as you did in the first week. You go, well, Graham, what's my teen supposed to do? Simple. This is how the memory works. There's nothing we can do about that. There's nothing we can do to fix the fact that your teen is going to forget the information that they've learned. However, what we can do is that we can use the 6 pillars of neuroscience to come in and put steps into place to help stop the forgetting. And like I said, we use neuroscience all the time at Empowered STEM. And the first principle we teach is space practice. It's real simple. Small, regular review sessions prevent forgetting. Imagine that they're stepping stones across a river. And so we know, for example, that let's say that your teen learns something on a Monday. The best practice is to review it again on a Tuesday, 24 hours. And maybe again on a Wednesday, and then begin to space out the space practice intervals. If your teen does this, what they've done is taken a proactive step to make sure that they're not forgetting the information. Oh. The second thing then is rest and recovery. Yes, your teen does need some downtime. It's called cognitive overload. There's certain mental bandwidth that you have for doing something. And you can reach that bandwidth. And if you don't take proactive steps to take some time out, to do some things which are non-academic, well, then you begin to forget more. They've actually done studies and found out that downtime is essential to consolidation of knowledge. So yes, your teen should be striking a school-life balance. They should not be studying all the time. But what they should be doing is that they should be studying in a very structured and proactive manner. Because what you've got to keep in mind is this, is that A-level chemistry, biology, physics, maths, it's like training for a marathon. Now, if I said to you, you're going to train for a marathon, you wouldn't the next day put the running shoes on and run 26 miles. And then the day after that, put the running shoes on and run 26 miles. Well, of course you wouldn't. What you would do is you would build up your cardiovascular endurance, your muscle strength, your mental ability to do it. And you would be on a plan. So you're steadily increasing the number of miles you're running each day. You're taking rest breaks between the running sessions. And so if you keep doing it, you will actually be able to run a marathon. Now, I trained for a half marathon. So I know this one from personal experience. I know this one is true. I had one of the apps on my phone. The Nike running app is brilliant. And it's like, right. But they say, well, are you training for a marathon or a half marathon? A half marathon. All right. How many weeks do you have to prepare for it? Or is it just something in the future that you're aiming for? 16 weeks. Okay. And then it gives you the exact running schedule. So one day it's like you walk a mile, you run a mile, and then you take a break, a day off, and then you walk 2 miles and you run 2 miles. It had this plan, this running schedule together, all these different activities and exercises you could do in order to increase the cardiovascular strength, the physical strength, and the mental endurance. And in the end, at the end of 16 weeks, I was able to run a half marathon. And that's like A-levels. You have to space out what your teen does in terms of studying over the next 2 years. But you got to be really, really proactive and think about it so you don't burn out. Now, what's the best plan for the summertime? This is the second question I'm asked all the time. What's the best plan, Graham, for the summertime? Simple. You need to strike a school life balance with your teen. In other words, they need to study and they need some downtime. And so what we recommend at Empowered STEM is a light, structured revision schedule. 2 to 3 short sessions a week. Not overdoing it. Not hours and hours and hours all day during the week and into the night on the weekend. No, 2 or 3 short study sessions a week, spaced out during the week. But in these study sessions, this is when you're really, really strategic. So think back to the Nike training app that I was on, okay? When it said you had to run a mile or walk a mile, it gave you a certain pace you had to reach. Or maybe you were doing sprint exercises. You had to do so many sprints in a certain amount of time, and then it would adjust. And so the time that I blocked out of my calendar to actually learn how to run a half marathon was really structured. And it's the same thing with the study sessions. Your team may be doing 2 to 3 study sessions a week, which may not seem to be that much, but inside the study sessions, it's now when it becomes important. Number 1, active recall. So active recall, it's this: flashcards, quizzes, and teaching back. Notice how I said active recall. There's this myth out there, and this is a different live stream that we'll get into. There's a myth out there, parents, that students think, oh, studying is when I'm copying over notes, I'm watching YouTube videos, I'm rereading the textbook, I'm doing mark schemes with the enter key open, and they think this is studying. They think this is revising. It's not. This no one is passive learning. Yeah, it's like sitting down and watching a movie on Netflix. Okay, you're just watching it. You're actually engaged in it. So active learning is when you're in there with flashcards. Because look, they've done studies and they found out that if you write it down by hand, you actually learn more and retain more information than if you just looked at a computer screen doing it. So flashcard. Quizzes, which make you recall the information, or you're doing past paper questions under timed conditions. Okay, actively engage with the information. And this is the Feynman technique. It's called teaching back. It's this one. The Feynman technique is this. He said, if you can teach somebody else, then you must know the information. You must know the concept. And so ask your son, your daughter, ask them, what are they learning? And then have them teach back to you. Now, admittedly, parents, you may be sitting there going, Graham, I got no idea what they're talking about with atomic structure, electron configuration, homeostasis, the Krebs cycle, and those equations in maths he's doing. What? Doesn't matter, because if they're teaching you and you're asking them questions you genuinely don't know, then it consolidates the information in their head. It moves it from short-term to long-term memory. And you start beating the Ebbinghaus forgetting curve. Interleave subjects. What I mean by this is let's say that your son, your daughter is doing the big 3, chemistry, biology, maths. You don't spend hours and hours and hours just doing chemistry, or hours and hours and hours doing biology, or hours and hours and hours doing maths. No. Why? Because your teen's mind is just going to get bored. It's just going to switch off. You know, it's like sometimes if you want to binge watch a TV show and you're thinking, oh, yes, this sounds like a good idea. And then after the second or third episode, you're thinking, well, I'm a bit bored now. Yes. And so you interleave subjects. And so what I mean by this is that one day you're doing one study session you're doing chemistry, then the next study session you're doing biology, or maybe the third study session you're doing maths. Or maybe you're doing, for chemistry, it's year 12 in one study session and year 13 in the other study session. Or maybe, and this is what we teach at Empowered STEM, maybe they've got the synoptic links going. And so they're purposely studying year 12 and year 13 topics that they know link together. Skill building. They've got to learn exam technique practice. Now, again, parents, look, what I mean by this is this. Exam technique practice, it does not mean your teen is sitting down just, oh, I did so many past paper questions, Graham. Really? Did you learn anything? Oh, I don't know. I just did them real quick. And then I looked at the mark scheme and I marked it. And then I did the next batch. They're trying to burn through all the questions. All right. Whereas the skillful student, they're the ones that when they go through the past paper questions, they go through it with a certain exam technique. They're learning this. What exactly is the examiner looking for? What's the trap? What is the question really asking me? How can they twist this question around into something they haven't seen when it comes to the exam? It's not just sitting there, just doing past paper question after past paper question after past paper question, what we call content review. No, it's not going to do it. Why? Because it's passive learning, parents. It's not active learning. And so your teen, they may have put in some clock time, but they haven't actually learned anything. Now, having said that, I did say that your teen, they do need to have a school-life balance. And so we covered the school bit. We've covered the strategic way that your teen can study using neuroscience and really maximize out their learning. But they do need to have some recharge activities. And by this, I mean exercise. Not, oh, well, I'm just going to go look at my phone. I've got to doom scroll, check the social media, see what's going on. No, I mean, actually get out, have a walk, drink some water, eat some healthy food, some healthy snacks, play a sport, maybe take up running or weightlifting or whatever they want to do. Do something that gets the body moving. Take up a hobby, something completely different to studying for their A levels. Get some social activities in. Spend some time with their friends. In other words, be a teenager. Okay, because what this does is that this makes sure that their mental health is in tip-top condition. Because what you don't want, parents, you don't want them to get burnt out, do you? You don't want them to get depressed and burnt out about A levels, and then time September rolls around, you're thinking, oh, great, fantastic. You know, they're not in the peak condition for when they come back. So what exactly then, parents, can you do to help your teen? Well, there are a few action steps that you can take. The number one is that you can sit down with your teen and put together a realistic study schedule. So go back to the slider analogy. You don't want to be all the way on one end, which is, oh, you know, I'm pushing my teen all the time to be doing something academic. And then the other hand, you're thinking, I'm not doing anything at all. You're kind of in the middle, you get a realistic study schedule going. You're thinking, yes, look, you need to have 2 or 3 study sessions per topic per week. Let's get a school life balance going. Help your teen do this, because we found out at Empowered STEM that a lot of teens don't know how to put a study schedule together. They don't know how to put a revision plan together. That's why we teach them how to do it. Also, and we talked about this one the other day. The previous live stream, it was on the Pomodoro effect. Is this one? Short 45-minute study sessions, depending how long your teen can concentrate for. 45 minutes, maybe a 15-minute break. Let's say 60 minutes and a 10-minute break. Come up with some study sessions, which are of a time that actually works for your teen. Meaning, if you're having a conversation with your teen and they say to you, well, Mom, Dad, to be honest with you, after an hour, I'm really just, pushing it. Well, don't make them study for hours on end. Say, okay, look, put in 45 minutes of really good concentrated effort using one of those Pomodoro times that Graham was talking about the other day, and then take a 15-minute break and just go do something else outside, a bit of fresh air, and then come back in. Also, make them accountable. Now, you need to be involved in this, parents. Make them accountable. Get a study planner together. Put a calendar on the fridge, whatever it takes, so that you can work together with your team. And they see this as a team effort between you and them. You're not adversarial, a team effort between you and them to get them through the A levels. And you can start checking off, well, did you do your study session today for chemistry? Did you do your study session for biology? Your study session for maths? Fantastic. Also celebrate with them. Celebrate the wins as well as the effort. Now, this bit's important, all right, because a lot of parents, they say, well, progress to me is when they bring home an A star, or they bring home an A on a test or the exam. That is true progress, Graham. That is a measured progress. Is it? Could you also measure the amount of effort that they put in? Maybe they put in a lot of effort into that test or the exam. They really tried their best and they walked out with a B. That's okay. Celebrate that with them, that you put the effort in and you walked out with a B. Great. And what can we do in order to get the grade up to the next level? Because what we found is this, is when parents support their teen with structure, without undue pressure, teens learn more and actually enjoy the process. And so your teen parents, what they're looking for is that they're looking for structure. They're looking for support. And they're looking for it in a way that comes from love and not a combative attack. And so when they come to you and have this conversation, spend some time with them and actually plan out the study planner, plan out the revision guide, celebrate the effort, celebrate the wins, teach them about the neuroscience I talked about in this live stream. Okay? And they'll enjoy the learning process and they'll learn more. And you won't have the undue pressure of having to nag your teen in order to study. Now, you say, okay, great. Do you have any proof of this one? Well, of course I have proof. Now, look, what we found is this, is that, and this is a conversation we have with students when they enroll. It's either in our year 12 accelerated learning course or the year 13 accelerated learning courses. Our courses start in September. We have a conversation with them. And you know what they say is this. They say, Graham, yeah, I did the GCSEs. Mm-hmm. Got the 9, yeah. Oh, and then over the summertime, I just relaxed. I really did. I took the summertime off. Oh, we hear this one for the year 13 students. I took the summertime off. And you know what the problem is, Graham? What? I've forgotten everything. And when I come back in September, I've got to tell you, the first month, September, at sixth form college is so hard. Why? Because you're in year 13 and the teacher's up the front and they're teaching the chemistry, the biology, the maths. And you know what? I've forgotten all the year 12 stuff. And I'm sitting there thinking, oh, man, I thought I knew this stuff. I thought I knew what they were talking about. And then I have to go back. This is a bit. Then I have to go back and I have to relearn the stuff in year 12. And you know what I wish I'd done, Graham? What? Oh, I wish I had studied over the summertime. Really? Yeah, well, then I wouldn't have forgotten it, would I? Because now I have to work twice as hard. I've got to review what I learned last year and try to keep up the teacher in year 13. And so this is a typical student that we have at Empowered STEM. Take the summertime off before they enroll in our courses. Now, what we find out is this then. What we find out is this, is that those students that take the summertime off, they fall behind in September. They're starting what we call, starting September behind the 8 ball. Right? Whereas, and the student is Iggy. Iggy took our year 13 hybrid biology course. And over the summertime, she took our year 12 And she stayed with us and she took the year 13. And over the summertime, what she did is she actually followed our advice and did some light summer studying. School life balance. And when she came back, she was ready. She said, I was sitting inside the sixth form college in year 13. And I actually knew what the teacher was talking about. And then when I took your course, guess what? I really knew what the course tutor was talking about because I could recall it. Why? Well, because I studied over the summertime. Right. So that, by the way, it isn't a fluke. All of the students are like this. They all come in and they find out the hard way that they've got to study over the summertime. When they do, the light bulb goes off and they never go back to the previous way of doing it. So what you need to think of, parents, is this: is what's the outcome that you want for your teen? The outcome that you want for your teen is that when they enroll in sixth form college in September, either in year 12, they're going back into year 13, that they're ready. They're ready for the course. Okay. And so consider helping them put together a light study schedule over the summertime. Like I said, 2 or 3 focus sessions a week per topic. Use the principles of neuroscience that I talked about. What you'll find is that your teen, they will actually come back ready for sixth form college, a lot more confident, a lot more stronger, and more likely to earn the A or the A star on the final exam. Now, parents, if what I'm talking about on these live streams and what on Facebook and what on YouTube on this one, if what I'm talking about in these live streams makes sense to you, what you need to do is either like the page on Facebook, so you're given the update of like when the next live stream comes out, or go onto YouTube, subscribe to the channel, because every week we do one of these live streams, and all we do is just teach the parents tips and strategies on how to help your teen earn the A or the A star in A-level maths and A-level science. Okay. Now, hopefully this one has helped your teen. Hopefully it's helped your teen overcome the summer burnout. Now, hopefully it's helped them with the summer burnout, number one, and it's helped you see that you can help your teen get a balance between school life and school life. And I've given you some tips and I've given you some strategies that work on how to help them study more efficiently, more effectively, using the 6 principles of neuroscience. And it's going to help them rebuild their confidence, and so they're ready to hit September on the ground, running and ready to go. Now, if what I'm talking about makes sense to you, you go, you know what, Graham? I am interested in learning more about your courses or what you offer at Empowered STEM. Well, then by all means, click the link in the description. All right, it's under the video on Facebook, it's under the video on YouTube, and you can reach out to a member of my team and they'll have a non-sales call with you. It's a real simple conversation that we have is this. Look, we have a conversation with you. We find out where your teen is in terms of academics and what you're looking to achieve. We explain our courses, what our courses do, and if it's a good fit, fantastic. If not, that's okay. But reach out to us, have a conversation with a member of my team. Everybody take care, and I'll see you on the next one.